There is something happening inside your body right now that has nothing to do with getting older, and almost nobody is talking about it clearly. Think about the last time you woke up and felt genuinely rested. Not just functional, actually rested. Strong, like your body had recovered during the night and was ready to carry you through the hours ahead. For many people watching this, that feeling has become something distant, something they remember from years ago but can no longer reliably find. And if you are in that group, I want you to do something with me before we go any further. I want you to pay attention to your legs. Not in a clinical way. Just notice them. Notice whether they feel heavy right now, even though you have not been standing. Notice whether getting up from where you are sitting requires more effort than it used to. Notice whether you feel a kind of fatigue that settles into your muscles by mid-afternoon, even on days when you have not done anything particularly demanding. If any of that sounds familiar, what I am about to share with you matters more than you might expect. Because that heaviness, that tiredness, that does not fully go away with sleep, that sense that your body is working harder than it should just to get through an ordinary day, it is not inevitable. It is not simply what happens after 50, and it is not fixed by taking more vitamins. That last part is where most people get stuck. Because the advice is always the same. Take a multivitamin. Add some vitamin D. Make sure your B12 is up. And people follow that advice faithfully for months, sometimes years. And the fatigue is still there. The weakness is still there. The legs still feel heavy by 2 in the afternoon. And at some point, the assumption becomes, this is just my body now. This is what aging feels like. I have to accept it. But that assumption may be wrong. And that is exactly what I want to talk to you about today. If this kind of information is new to you, or if you have been looking for a channel that takes your health seriously and explains things the way they deserve to be explained, subscribe right now. Hit that button. Now, here is what researchers have begun to understand more clearly in the last decade. The problem for millions of adults over 50 is not a shortage of vitamins reaching the body. Vitamins are arriving. The supplements are being swallowed. The nutrients are entering the bloodstream. The problem is what happens after that. The problem is what is happening at the cellular level inside the muscle tissue itself, where energy is actually supposed to be produced and used. And at that level, something is breaking down quietly. Not catastrophically. Not in a way that shows up dramatically on a standard blood panel, but gradually, progressively, in a way that accumulates over years until one day you realize you can no longer do the things that used to feel effortless. This is not a story about disease. This is a story about a system, a deeply interconnected system that requires specific cofactors to function the way it was designed to. And when those cofactors are missing, when one particular mineral falls into what researchers call subclinical deficiency, the entire energy production chain inside your muscle cells begins to slow down. Not because you are sick, because your body is running without what it needs. That mineral is magnesium. And the way it is being lost, the way most adults over 50 are quietly depleted without knowing it, and what a simple ingredient added to your morning coffee can do about it, that is the conversation we are having today. Stay with me. The part that surprises most people is not the science. It is how simple this actually is once you understand what your body has been trying to tell you. Let me explain what is actually happening inside your muscles when magnesium is low, because once you see it, the fatigue starts to make complete sense. Your muscles require a constant supply of energy to contract, recover, and stay strong. That energy comes from a molecule called ATP, which is the currency your cells use for physical work. Every time you stand up, walk across a room, or climb a step, your muscle cells are spending ATP. And the moment ATP runs low in a muscle, that muscle begins to fail. It gets heavy, it gets slow, it stops responding the way you expect. Here is where magnesium enters the picture in a way most people have never been told. Magnesium is required for your body to produce ATP in the first place. It is not a supporting actor. It is structurally essential. According to the National Institutes of Health, Magnesium participates in more than 300 biochemical reactions in the human body, and a significant portion involve energy metabolism and muscle function directly. Without adequate magnesium, your cells cannot efficiently convert food into usable energy. The machinery is there, the fuel is there, but the process cannot run without this mineral as a critical cofactor at every step. That is what subclinical magnesium deficiency feels like from the inside. Not a dramatic collapse, a slow dimming, a gradual loss of the energy and strength that used to feel automatic. I have been following research in this area for years, and one thing consistently stands out: how invisible this deficiency is on standard testing. A routine blood test measures serum magnesium, the magnesium circulating in your blood, but less than 1% of the body's magnesium is actually in the blood. The vast majority lives in bone and muscle tissue. So a normal serum result can coexist with a functionally depleted state inside the cells that matter most. The Cleveland Clinic has noted this directly. Harvard's T.H. Chan School of Public Health has documented how widespread low magnesium status is in adults over 50, driven by reduced absorption and diets that do not deliver enough of this mineral. John was 63 when he started paying attention to this. He had taken a multivitamin every morning for 8 years. His blood work always came back unremarkable. His doctor told him his numbers looked fine, but John had been waking up tired for years. The kind of tired that is already there when you open your eyes. He described his legs as feeling like they belonged to someone older. Tasks that used to take 10 minutes left him wanting to sit down. He had accepted it. He told himself it was just the natural course of things. What John did not know is that the fatigue was not coming from aging itself. It was coming from a system running below its operational threshold, in part because his muscles were not getting the magnesium they needed for efficient energy production. This is the part that catches people off guard. Vitamins cannot compensate for a mineral deficiency operating at the cellular level, in tissues where standard testing is not designed to look. You can have perfect vitamin D, optimal B12, adequate iron, and still feel exhausted, because the energy production system requires magnesium as its foundational mineral. No combination of vitamins corrects that specific gap. The good news is that this is not permanent. When the right cofactors are restored, muscle cells begin to function more efficiently. Energy returns, recovery improves. The heaviness starts to lift. Not overnight, but measurably, in ways you can actually feel. And the way some people are beginning to address this starts with ingredients most people already have, including something that goes very well with your morning coffee. So let us talk about what that ingredient actually is, and more importantly, why it works at a level most people never consider when they think about muscle fatigue and energy. The ingredient is cinnamon, Ceylon cinnamon specifically. And before you move past that, stay with me for a moment, because the connection between cinnamon and muscle energy is not the one most people expect. This is not about flavor. This is about a specific physiological chain that begins with how your body handles glucose and ends with how effectively your muscle cells can produce and sustain energy throughout the day. After 50, something begins to shift in the way the body responds to insulin. Insulin is the hormone responsible for moving glucose from the bloodstream into the cells where it can be used as fuel. In younger, more responsive tissue, this process is efficient. Glucose enters the cell, gets converted into ATP, and muscles have what they need to perform and recover. But as we age, cells become less sensitive to the insulin signal. Glucose lingers in the bloodstream longer than it should, and the result? Even in people whose fasting glucose looks perfectly normal, is a pattern of energy instability that hits the muscles directly. Think of it this way. Your muscle cells are waiting for a delivery. The truck arrives, glucose in the blood. But the door to the cell is not opening efficiently. The cell does not get its fuel on time. And while that is happening, you feel it as a heaviness, a fatigue, that seems to come from nowhere. Especially in the afternoon, especially after meals. This is where Ceylon cinnamon enters in a way research has been documenting for years. Studies published in the Journal of Medicinal Food and reviewed in Diabetes Care have found that the active polyphenols in Ceylon cinnamon can improve insulin sensitivity at the cellular level. They help the door open more efficiently. Glucose enters the muscle cell more reliably. The energy production process runs more smoothly. That mid-afternoon crash that so many people over 50 have accepted as their reality becomes less severe. Magnesium and insulin sensitivity are also deeply interconnected. Magnesium is required for insulin to bind properly to cell receptors. When magnesium is low, insulin resistance tends to worsen. When glucose does not enter cells efficiently, ATP production drops. Muscles fatigue faster and recover slower. A chain of events, each link affecting the next, quietly accumulating over years. And this is why half a teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon stirred into your morning coffee can begin to influence that chain at multiple points simultaneously, not as a cure, but as a cofactor that helps the underlying system function more efficiently. Now, before we continue, what comes next involves a second ingredient most people already have in their kitchen and have never once connected to muscle energy. But first, if what you are hearing goes deeper than anything you have come across on this topic, there is a complete program addressing this entire system. The full nutritional and lifestyle framework for restoring muscle energy after 50. Find it now through the link in the description or the pinned comment below. There is also a QR code visible on your screen right now if you are watching on television. Scan it and you will be taken directly there. The people who act on this now are the ones who start feeling the difference within 30 days. Click the link, scan the code, and let us keep going. The second ingredient is pure cacao. Not cocoa powder from the baking aisle with added sugar and milk solids. Pure cacao, unsweetened, minimally processed. And the reason it belongs in this conversation has everything to do with something most people think about in terms of heart health, but rarely connect to how their muscles feel by the end of a long day. Pure cacao is one of the richest natural sources of compounds called flavanols. When flavanols enter the body, they trigger the production of nitric oxide, a molecule that causes blood vessels to relax and widen. When blood vessels widen, circulation improves. Blood moves more freely. Oxygen and nutrients reach tissues faster. Researchers publishing in Frontiers in Nutrition and reviewed by the American Heart Association have documented this effect in relation to cardiovascular function. But here is the part that rarely makes it into the conversation. Your muscles depend on that same circulation to perform, sustain effort, and recover. Think of blood vessels as the delivery roads your body uses to bring oxygen, glucose, and minerals to every muscle in your legs, your back, your arms, your core. When those roads are narrow or sluggish, deliveries slow down. Your muscles receive less of what they need precisely when they are working hardest. Faster fatigue, slower recovery, that familiar feeling of your body running out of capacity before your day is done. When flavanols from pure cacao improve circulation, those delivery roads widen. Oxygen arrives more efficiently. Glucose reaches muscle cells more readily. And magnesium, foundational to the entire energy production process, gets transported to the tissue that needs it. This is why the combination matters. Cinnamon helps the cell door open. Cacao widens the road that leads to the door. There is one more piece worth noting. Pure cacao contains naturally occurring magnesium. According to nutritional data referenced by the NIH, a tablespoon of pure cacao powder contains approximately 27 milligrams of magnesium in a form that is biologically active and meaningfully available. Not a replacement for dietary magnesium from other sources, but a real contribution. When combined with cinnamon in a morning coffee, you are creating a small but genuinely functional ritual that addresses the energy deficit from multiple directions at once. People who begin this combination often describe noticing subtle but consistent changes over 2 to 3 weeks. Legs that feel slightly less heavy by mid-afternoon. A morning energy that sustains a little longer before it drops. A quality of sleep that improves modestly, because muscles that are less chronically fatigued tend to rest more effectively at night. Not dramatic transformations. The kind of quiet, incremental improvements that compound over weeks into a noticeably different daily experience. If you have stayed with this through everything we have covered today, that tells me something important about you. You are not someone who accepts fatigue and decline as inevitable without asking whether something can be done. And what we have discussed today is only one part of a larger framework, the complete picture, addressing not just cinnamon and cacao, but the full system of nutritional support and lifestyle factors that restore muscle energy after 50, is available right now. You have already invested this much time. You already understand more about your body than you did 20 minutes ago. The next step is a decision. The link is in the description and the pinned comment below. The QR code is on your screen right now if you are watching on television. Scan it. Click it. Every day you wait is another day of energy your body could have had. The decision is yours. There is one more ingredient in this morning combination, and it is the one most people overlook entirely. A small pinch of sea salt. Not table salt. Sea salt, minimally processed, retaining its natural mineral content. And the reason it matters comes down to electrolyte balance, one of the most practical and underappreciated factors in how your muscles function day to day. Your muscles contract through electrical signals. Those signals depend on a precise balance of minerals inside and outside the muscle cell, primarily sodium, potassium, and magnesium. When that balance shifts, the signal weakens. Contraction becomes less efficient. Strength decreases. Recovery slows. The Mayo Clinic has noted that even mild electrolyte imbalance can produce fatigue and reduced performance in otherwise healthy adults. Many people over 50 are losing electrolytes steadily without realizing it. Coffee has a mild diuretic effect. Hydration is often inconsistent. With each loss, minerals leave the body. Not dramatically, but consistently. A low-grade depletion accumulates, not enough to appear on a standard panel, but enough to affect how the muscles feel and recover. A small pinch of sea salt in your morning coffee begins the day with a meaningful restoration of that mineral balance. Combined with the insulin-sensitizing effect of Ceylon cinnamon and the circulatory support of pure cacao, this third element completes a morning protocol that addresses the energy chain from 3 directions: cellular uptake, oxygen and nutrient delivery, and electrolyte signaling. The protocol is simple. Brew your coffee. Add half a teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of pure unsweetened cacao, and a small pinch of sea salt. Drink it within the first hour after waking, when cortisol is at its morning peak. These ingredients work with that window, supporting metabolic priming for the hours ahead. What you may begin to notice over 2 to 4 weeks is not a dramatic shift. It is a gradual restoration of something that had quietly been missing. Mornings that feel slightly less heavy. Afternoons that do not collapse as sharply. Legs that carry you through a walk with less effort than before. Sleep that is a little deeper. These changes accumulate quietly until one day you realize you feel more like yourself than you have in a long time. Your body is not finished responding. After 50, after 60, the systems are still there. The capacity is still there. What changes is the environment those systems are operating in. An environment can be adjusted. Not perfectly, not overnight, but meaningfully with consistent and targeted support. If this content has been useful, hit the like button right now. Subscribe so you do not miss what comes next. And tell me in the comments, do you feel this kind of fatigue in the morning, or does it hit you more in the afternoon? I read those, and your answer shapes what we cover next. If someone in your life has been told that exhaustion is just part of getting older, send this video to them. Share it with that person who deserves a real explanation of what is happening in their body. Subscribe if you have not yet, because the next video continues exactly where this one leaves off. You are someone who takes health seriously enough to still be here. That matters. Keep going.